My son passed around a gift he made from scratch. My mom smiled and said, "Let's open the real ones now." We just packed up and left. The next day, the family group chat was full of panic. "Why isn't it working?" I smiled and replied, "I don't know why I thought this year would be different. Maybe because my son Noah had worked so hard. Maybe because I allowed myself to believe that time softens people. But when my mother said it, loud enough for him to hear, with that half smile she always wears when she wants to ruin something, it hit me harder than usual. "Let's open the real presents." She said it right after Noah handed out the gifts he had made himself. Not bought. Made. From scratch. He spent 3 weeks making them. Handcrafted wooden boxes with touchscreens, motion sensors, and their own software. He called them Lumi boxes. They changed color depending on the mood in the room, played soothing sounds, and responded to voice commands. He even engraved each person's name with a wood-burning tool. One went to my mom, my dad, my sister, her 2 daughters, everyone. He explained it with the pride and awkwardness that children have when they put themselves out there. You could tell how much it meant to him. But when he finished, they just blinked. My dad said, My nieces barely lifted their heads. My sister chuckled quietly. But it was my mom who hit the nail on the head. She took her box, turned it over as if checking the price tag, then smiled at my sister's daughters and said, "Now let's open the real ones." I didn't say anything. I didn't cry. I just helped Noah gather our things and told him we were leaving. The drive home was quiet. He didn't ask why. He knew. The next morning, I woke up to chaos in the family chat. My sister, "Hi, mine won't turn on." Anyone else? My dad, "Mine keeps saying something about deactivation. What's going on with these things?" My mom, "Is this some kind of joke? Mine isn't responding. It was working fine yesterday." I watched the messages come in one after another. I didn't respond right away. I waited until everyone was clearly confused. Then I wrote one message and sent it. Because the real me had turned it off. That was it. Nothing more. They didn't respond for several hours. And when they did, they didn't apologize. As usual. But then I realized. Enough is enough. This time they won't get silence. They'll get consequences. They didn't respond to my message until evening. My sister wrote first, asking if I could explain how to turn them on. She said her girls were interested, and wanted to use them. Interested. As if Noah's work had suddenly become worthy of their attention because it had stopped working. Then my mom wrote that I shouldn't be so dramatic and that Noah's gift was a cute project, but I shouldn't make everyone feel guilty for not understanding it. That word. Cute. That's how they always perceive everything Noah does. As if he's a drawing on the wall, not a child who creates functional devices from parts found on Craigslist and eBay. And no, they never apologized. Not to me. And certainly not to him. So I didn't respond. Not right away. Instead, I started making a list. I've done a lot for them over the years. Quiet things. Things they took for granted. I set up their home security system and connected their cameras to their phones. I programmed their smart thermostat because they couldn't figure it out. When my father's laptop got a ransomware virus last year, I fixed it. And don't even get me started on my sister. I redesigned her entire online store for free because the one she hired someone to build was a complete mess. So the first thing I did was log into the thermostat system. I didn't turn it off completely, just deleted the schedule. I set it so that the temperature in the house wouldn't rise above 62 during the day and wouldn't drop below 78 at night. It was confusing, inconvenient, and annoying enough that they would notice. That evening, my father wrote, "Is the Nest app broken? The house is really cold right now." Then my mom, "Can someone fix the heat? It hasn't been working since last night." I didn't respond. An hour later, they asked again. Then I wrote, "Maybe you need a real person to look at it." Still no apology. Not a word about Noah. But I was just getting started. The next morning, my sister messaged me directly. She said her Shopify site wasn't showing any new orders. I knew this would happen. I built the back end, and it worked through a few APIs that I controlled. I hadn't deleted anything. I only changed one access key. She said it must be a bug and asked me to take a look. I said I'd get to it when I could. She replied with a thumbs up emoji. That was it. 3 hours later, she sent another message. Then another. "Please, I'm restocking over the weekend and can't process orders." Still no mention of Noah. Still no mention of what happened. I asked her one question. "Do you think your daughters would call anything Noah did cute?" She ignored my message. I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. I was just tired of letting them pretend they didn't understand what they were doing. They had created a family in which Noah didn't matter. Now they would find out what it was like when the person they had disrespected was no longer holding everything together. By the third day, the group chat had turned into a bloodbath. My mom asked me to stop by the house to take a look at the thermostat and Wi-Fi. My dad complained that the garage door app wasn't syncing. My sister said her sales dashboard was still empty and a client had sent an email asking why his order wasn't showing up. I didn't respond right away. I wanted them to suffer a little longer. Not out of cruelty, but because for the first time they realized what I actually do for them. These weren't services. These were lifelines they had never seen before. And now they were falling apart. That same evening, my mom tried to change the tone. She called me, but I didn't answer. Her messages were fake sweet at first, then turned passive-aggressive. She said things like, "We're all family, Emily. You're always so sensitive during the holidays. And Noah isn't to blame for being different, but that doesn't mean everyone knows how to respond." Different. That word haunted me for hours. Noah isn't different. He's brilliant. But to them, different means not like the others. And not like the others has never been a compliment in this family. I knew exactly what she meant. She said the same thing about me when I was his age. That night, I logged into my father's email. I had set it up for him, enabled automatic forwarding and filters. Every month he received a report on all his pension fund transactions because he could never remember his login details. I turned off the forwarding. Then I logged into the smart garage system and changed the access rights. I blocked him with the click of a button. Not permanently, just to annoy him. For 24 hours he called me annoyed, saying he couldn't get into the garage, that his emails weren't coming through, and that there must be something wrong with all this damn internet. I told him that my internet was working fine at home. Then I added, maybe ask the girls for help. That's when he exploded. Not in front of me, he never does that. But later, my sister texted me, "What did you say to Dad?" He's furious. This is too much, Em. Too much. Noah was ridiculed and humiliated in front of the entire family. My son spent weeks creating something thoughtful, and they treated it like a Happy Meal toy. And now I'm too much? I didn't respond to her. Instead, I changed the password on her website's API panel and removed her from the list of administrators. She still had the website, but she had no control over it. Within an hour, she sent me 5 messages, sometimes politely asking, sometimes accusing me of sabotage. I ignored every one of them. The next morning, I woke up to another wave of messages. My mom was trying to organize a virtual book club through her Zoom account. I had also helped her set it up, including recurring invitations and login details. She couldn't access it. She wrote, "Why did this happen all of a sudden? Can you fix it?" I waited until the meeting time had passed. Then I replied, "Maybe next time try opening the real one." After that, there was no message. Only silence. They weren't used to being powerless. Not like this. But the truth was, I wasn't taking anything away from them. I was just stepping back and letting them see what life looked like without the person they took for granted. They didn't need to apologize. They just needed to live like this for a little while longer. 5 days passed before the Golden Girls said anything. My nieces, 15 and 17 years old. The darlings of the family. The ones my mom calls the future. They had been silent the whole time, probably thinking it didn't concern them. Probably thinking that their world would remain unchanged, no matter what happened between the adults. Everything changed when I got a message from the older one. "Hi, Aunt Em. My Spotify isn't working, and the Wi-Fi keeps turning off. Can you help?" I stared at the message for a minute. I knew exactly why she had written to me. She remembered that I had set up their Wi-Fi network and cleaned their devices when they got infected with malware from suspicious Chrome extensions. They had been to my house often enough to know who had fixed their tech. I replied, "Ask your mom." She sent a sad face emoji. Then her younger sister sent me a separate message asking why her school project app was crashing. She was using a coding software that I had installed on their shared tablet. I had the administrator account. She said she had been working on the project for weeks, and suddenly it wouldn't load. I didn't respond. I didn't want to punish them. They were children. But they weren't helpless. They sat by while my son was being bullied. They didn't stand up for him. They didn't even pretend to be interested in what he had done. Noah had once spent an entire afternoon showing them how to build a simple circuit with LEDs, even giving them mini kits to try on their own. 2 weeks later, I found those kits, unopened, in the kitchen junk drawer. One of them had chocolate stains on it. I knew my actions were no longer subtle hints. But at that point, subtle hints hadn't worked for 11 years. That evening, my mother called again. This time, I answered the phone. She didn't ask how Noah was. She didn't even mention what had happened at Christmas. She went straight to the problems. She said that everything was falling apart, and that she just needed help to fix everything. She said, "You've always been the one we relied on. It's a shame you hold so much anger." I replied, "I don't hold anger. I hold a mirror." She fell silent. Then she asked if I could just make everything the way it was. I told her, normal life isn't coming back. And I meant it. Because normal life meant watching my son get humiliated while everyone else smiled. A normal life meant being the one who fixed their lives while they destroyed mine. A normal life meant pretending that their behavior didn't matter. The next day, my father called me. He never calls. He's one of those people who just expects things to get done. He said he couldn't log into his bank account because he couldn't pass two-factor authentication. The backup number was mine. I set it up when I helped him when he locked himself out last year. I told him he should call the bank to reset the authentication. Then I hung up. That night, my sister finally sent me a long message. A whole paragraph. She said she understood that I was hurt, but that I was overreacting. She said it wasn't her fault that our parents had always treated us differently. She said I shouldn't take it out on everyone else. She ended with, "You scare girls. Can you just stop? No apologies. Not to me. And not a word about Noah." I didn't reply. Instead, I logged into the email account I had created for my mom's charity group. There was a meeting scheduled for Sunday. I turned off the mailing list and archived the automatic reminders. Then I went to check on Noah. He was in his room, working on the motor of a broken radio-controlled car. He looked happy, calm, safe. Right now, that was all that mattered. Not their panic. Not their silence. And definitely not their convenience. By the end of the week, their messages had completely changed tone. No more pretending they didn't care. No more indirect jabs. The anger was finally out in the open. My dad wrote, "We've put up with a lot from you over the years, but this is just the tip of the iceberg." My sister sent, "You're taking something small and turning it into revenge." And my mom. Her message was the best. She wrote, "You always wanted attention, and now you've got it. At the expense of the whole family. I hope you're proud of yourself." It hit me differently. Not because it hurt. No, it didn't hurt, but because it felt like she had finally said what she had been thinking all along. That everything I had done was just noise to them. And now that it had stopped, they still didn't value it. Only the absence of it. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I began to distance myself completely. I revoked administrative access to all the shared systems I had ever set up. Their security cameras. Their cloud backups. Their shared calendars. Even their shared photo library, the one I created for them 3 years ago so that all family members could add holiday photos and life updates. Everything was gone. Deleted from my server. It was mine. They didn't even pay for it. That's when the real panic set in. Calls at all hours. Emails. Even a voicemail from my father, mumbling something about trying to fix things before they get worse. But the message from my sister was the most memorable. It was the most honest. "Okay. We don't need any of this. We'll figure this out ourselves. Enough. Emily. Enough." That phrase echoed in my head for hours. As if I had asked too much. As if I had crossed a line. Apparently, for them, loyalty was something I had to give freely, forever, no matter how little they gave in return. It's funny how long I tried to earn a place at their table. How many times I convinced myself that everything was fine. That maybe I just wasn't being fair. That maybe I was too sensitive, too serious, too demanding. And yet, when I finally dared to speak up, they couldn't handle it. Later that evening, Noah came into the kitchen. He had no idea what was going on behind the scenes. He just said he wanted to create a new version of Lumi, a better one. He had already sketched a few ideas. One with new sensors, more colors, maybe a voice that sounded more human. He asked me if we should make a new version for his grandparents. He said that maybe if it worked better, they would appreciate it more. I told him no. Just no. He didn't ask why. He just nodded and went to his room. That moment broke me more than any of their messages. Because after all that, the work, the rejection, the silence, he still wanted to give. They didn't deserve it. And now, for the first time in my life, I could say it out loud. 10 days passed before they finally gave up. My mom called. She didn't leave a message, just hung up when I didn't answer. Then a text message arrived. "We don't want anything more from you. You said it all. We're done." That was it. The official breakup. The family that had once expected me to fix everything had decided they were better off without the help they had never acknowledged. And yet none of them mentioned Noah's name. Not once. So I replied, "Fine. Maybe now you'll stop being so selfish." No hints. No lectures. Just the truth, finally spoken out loud. They didn't reply. They couldn't. It wasn't in their nature. They didn't feel sorry. They were just angry that they had lost access to a man they thought they would never need. Noah never heard a word from them. Not then. Not ever. But he kept building. And this time, I made sure his work went to the people who deserved it.